Okay, I'm not like the biggest success story online in the agency space, but I did scale my agency to multiple 75K months at 23. And if I had to restart from scratch, do it all over again, there are 8 steps that I'd take. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm deciding who to sell to, and this is going to be my niche, but also my sub niche. So in terms of the niche, really what I'm going to be looking for, there are going to be a couple key things that I'm looking for in a niche. The first one is people, like a psychographic of people who know how to sell and they know sales, because one big problem with a lot of niches that a lot of people run into, and that I personally initially ran into early on in the agency game, is that a lot of business owners are not, like, they're not entrepreneurial, they're not salespeople. And when that happens, you can generate them leads all day long, but they're not going to call them, or they're going to suck at sales and they're not going to be able to convert them, or they're not going to be willing to learn sales, or whatever the case may be. So picking the right niche altogether is really, really key. However, at the same time, you can pick a niche where people are not the right psychographic, but then you can pick a good sub niche where they are the right psychographic. So it's really important to find out, and really the only ways to know what is what in both of these situations is through knowledge or through experience. I'm a huge, huge believer that knowledge is king. And so there are a few quick ways, there are a couple ways to grow. You pay with money or you pay with time. I prefer to pay with money to acquire knowledge personally, but do what you do. It's totally up to you. So number one is who I'm selling to. Now, from here, ideally we want to be selling to people who have money. We don't want to be selling to, selling a dying solution in a dying market, these kinds of things. So these are important factors when we're looking at niche selection. But the next thing that I'm going to want to look into are going to be my pricing and my offer. So within my pricing and my offer, we want to make sure that these people can afford it, for starters, which is why we want to be picking a right niche and or sub niche that can afford this offer. Ideally we want it to be as expensive as possible, but this is a strategy for you to choose. Like, you can also make it cheap, and it comes down to what your approach is and what your model is. Sure, you want to charge as much money as possible, have less operational complexity, have to sell less in order to make the same amount of money. But if you can provide a very strong solution to a lot of people at scale, you're going to get a lot of referrals, and going cheap is a good option. So this is something definitely worth considering. What I would personally do, I would go for a niche or a sub niche that has a lot of money, that can afford high prices. And I would personally go down the more expensive path in the, several thousands of dollars per month up to, tens of thousands of dollars, or 10 to 20K kind of thing, just as like an initial one-off kind of starting price situation. In terms of the offer, you want to make sure that the result is massive and real, obviously. So like, one thing I would also do is, in deciding this, now ideally what we also want to do as kind of like a bonus thing, is get at least one case study in between these 2 steps here. So if you can get one crazy case study for, within this niche, and ideally within the sub niche if you're picking a sub niche, then you have this crazy case study that you can leverage in your marketing later on. And from there, you can get a massive result with this person ideally, and then through this, you're able to decide what pricing makes the most sense. Then you also have a reference that you can use in your sales calls, and so on and so forth. So very interesting little strategy here so far. But the third thing that I'm going to do is dive into market research. And a big part of market research really is talking to the market. How do you talk to the market? Well, ideally it's over the phone, but sending cold emails, making cold calls, sending cold DMs, running ads, something like this. This is how you're going to be able to get in contact with the market, these methods down here. But what we're looking for, I wrote mark research, that's jokes. But what we're looking for really when we're talking to the market is their pain points, desired identities. Am I spelling these things right? Desired identities. These are just some of the core things, but then we want to go deeper into, what exact pain points and desires and desired identities they're facing based on like a survey consensus, if that makes sense. So you want to be taking, the most popular ones, right? These are really going to be your gold for your marketing and for your sales processes. So where we're at now is, number one, we've decided who we're selling to. Number two, we've picked up a case study for these people. Number three, we've decided on pricing in an offer where they have a big result. And again, we've decided on pricing that's fair based on this result. And now we're going out and talking to the market and learning how we can market to more of these people, right? The case study is a really good way to do this, but we still need to be able to communicate this case study in a way that makes sense to everybody and that really hits home with a lot of these people. So from here, once we've done this, really the next step is actually marketing. And it's kind of funny because this is once again where we're going to be doing cold emails, cold calls, cold DMs, and running ads. But now what we're doing is testing the most popular messages, whether it's the whether it's the pain points, desires, or desired identities. And early on, if you're new, you don't even need to worry about this one, honestly. But in doing this, now what we're doing is we're actually starting to build our sales funnel and get people coming in the door, getting people to respond. This proves to us officially that these most popular pain points, desires, right, are in fact proven, right? That's the purpose here in the beginning stages. We want to make sure we're communicating effectively to the right types of people, right? This niche, this sub-niche, whatever it is. So once that's in check, right, then now you're getting a steady flow of leads coming in. And the next step that we're going to look into is building appointment setting and sales processes. So setting and closing processes, you could call them, or systems. I like to refer to them as. Now, what's funny is that all of these, I call these your assets, right? Testing the most popular assets. So what we want to do is we're really further asset testing by giving them assets up front, then letting them identify with these assets. This may sound really abstract and weird and random and unrelated, but this is exactly what I would do. Your marketing and sales is just understanding people and listening to them and then spitting everything back at them, pretty much. There are right and wrong ways to do it, and that's a rabbit hole of a conversation. But when we're building these systems, what we want to be doing, what we want to be doing is, this is how you're not triggering sales resistance. We're like letting them come to us versus us screaming at them and shoving things down their throats and telling them to buy from us, right? We're showing them that we get it. People just want to feel understood. That's the biggest point of sales. So make people feel understood. It's kind of like a 101 sort of thing, but it really, really is important. And as we build these systems, that's where this stuff really starts to happen. So now what we're going to do is really build a proven appointment setting script and build a proven sales discovery script. We're also going to build a pitch, which is going to go, this is going to go through, I'll write this in the bottom. We're going to build a pitch and a proven closing or objection handlers, right? The easiest thing you can do here is just find somebody who knows how to do this stuff and have them do it for you, or just give you stuff that they've already figured out. But there are going to be a lot of iterations as you build your pitch and as you practice your building objection handlers, and doing your discovery and so on and so forth. There's going to be a lot of iteration. Starting business from nothing is hard, and that's just I prefer to look at things through a realistic lens instead of let's go to the beach, do nothing, and make $1 million, because that's not how it works. So what we're doing is we're making people feel understood. We're creating an appointment setting system so that we can train somebody on using the script and all the objection handlers too that are involved with appointment settings, so that we can transfer this to somebody else and delegate it in the future. And then from here, we're also building a proven sales process, which actually transitions us nicely into the next step of the process, which is where we're testing our pricing. Jeez, man. I haven't been on this keyboard in a while. Bear with me. But we're testing our pricing and our offer. So in testing our pricing and our offer, this is happening on the sales call. And it can also happen in your outreach if you're doing, or in your ads, if you're doing like offer first advertising. I'm not personally a huge fan because everybody's doing it. And my belief is if everybody's doing one thing, let's do something else. So I don't do that because it's dumb saturated and it's a race to the bottom. But in testing your pricing and your offer, if you're already good at sales, then really what's going to happen is if you're not closing, it's because your offer sucks and or your pricing sucks, but your pricing is a component of your offer, so it means your offer sucks. And you're really not, or if you're still new to the market and you don't have the people figured out, then that's going to be what your issue is at this point. But at this point, like, you have leads coming in, you have sales calls coming in. Now it's like, okay, how can we reliably, consistently close at least 20% of these calls, right? That's our target. So if we can, or not if we, but when we close 20% of people, then this whole thing is proven. This whole thing. Now we get to the fun part where we're scaling. However, that's not really the next step, because as a part of all of these things, we're measuring and iterating like crazy. All right, so what we want to do is like collect data on everything, like everything, from positive response rates to show up rates to lead to, positive response to showed up to a sales call rate, like all of this stuff. We want to collect data on everything, because then we can measure the data and then we can make iterations based on what's not working. This helps us identify bottlenecks, and then from there we can make adjustments or iterations. And then this is how we inch closer and closer to the goal, because the truth is, when you're starting something from scratch, even people who are good at building offers, good at business, good at whatever, you're still going to have to measure and iterate when you're starting something from scratch. Like, you're not just going to hop out in the gate and be like, doing 7 figures, from zero in the blink of an eye, if you've never done it before, right? It takes time. But from here, measure, iterate, measure, iterate, measure, iterate. And we're going to go through this loop 1,000,000 times, right? Like, the amount of iterations I still do on my sales process and everything, because the market moves and the market changes, right? So you're not just like, it's not like you build this thing once and you're good. You build this thing once and you're good for an extended period of time, then you're screwed and you need to update things, adjust things, and fix things again, right? Like, everything here fatigues. Not everything, but a good amount of stuff here fatigues. Like, your offer will inevitably fatigue at some point. Like, that's just how it works, especially as new solutions come into the market and so on and so forth. Now from here, once we do lock things in though for the first time, we can absolutely start automating things and scaling the outreach, the sales, so on and so forth. So what we want to do is productize the service. Yeah, let's just pretend that's a word. We want to productize a service and just make it so that it's an assembly line. This is a concept I'm really a big fan of, is turning your entire business into an assembly line. So from when nobody's ever heard of you before, all the way to them getting your desired result that you're promising in the sales call or in the marketing or whatever it is, you want to make every single step along the way completely automated, and you want to be able to remove yourself from that process. Your business is a system of systems. Oops. It's really important that you make your business a system of systems, because then this is how you achieve this whole zero guesswork kind of setup. It really is. So this is honestly, genuinely how I would go from zero to this 75K per month. And you can use this process to go even further beyond that. But this is excluding hiring and so on and so forth. But going from scratch, doing this like completely solo by yourself, this is how you can do it, or pretty close to by yourself. Not necessarily, because like I did bring some people on and all this stuff, so I'm not trying to be any kind of way when I say that. But this is genuinely what I would do, like unfiltered, nothing held back, no secrets, no this, that, the other. But yeah, if you like this video, go to my channel, watch whatever else is there, or you can click whatever's popping up on screen for you now, and I'll see you there.